给大家分享一下中国最大的鬼城。
China's ghost city phenomenon has long been a hot topic in the real estate market. Today, let me show you one of the largest ghost cities in some parts of the country. Just how exaggerated is this place? Take a look. An entire building with only 2 households is already considered populated. Now look at that building over there. Only 1 household lives in it. And that building over there? Not a single resident. Those distant buildings are all illuminated by streetlights, but you can't see any lights from inside. Look at the roads here. Vehicles are pitifully scarce. Occasionally, you might see 1 car pass by. You could wait ages just to spot another one. This is the current reality of China's real estate market. The supply of real estate is so massive that the inventory has far exceeded demand, which has resulted in today's ghost city phenomenon. Today is December 7th, 8:30 p.m., and everything you see here is real. Take a look around. There are a few more buildings in the distance, but there are hardly any traces of residents. Look again at those distant buildings. Are there any people? No. All you see are empty, desolate buildings. Right now, I can literally stand in the middle of the road and see that there are almost no vehicles passing by on either side. Even the central divider looks exceptionally desolate. This is the true state of China's real estate market, not the so-called prosperity hyped up by housing advocates or property speculators. Some people desperately push for skyrocketing housing prices, creating so-called market panic, even going so far as to hysterically promote the urgency of buying a home. However, ghost cities like this are spread across the country. Every city has at least 3 to 5 similar empty districts, completely lifeless, making people feel both desolate and uneasy. Would you say this phenomenon truly reflects the reality of China's real estate market? This is undoubtedly a serious reality.
如果你花了半辈子的钱买了套房子，然后变成了鬼城。
In Zhenjiang, there is a well-known ghost town, which was originally a project developed by Evergrande Tourism City. At that time, this place was designed with great sophistication and became an extremely attractive scenic spot. However, with Evergrande's financial chain breaking, this originally promising town gradually turned into an abandoned and desolate scene. Why do I know about this place? Because when this project first launched, I even came specifically to look at the properties. Today, I decided to take you to explore this ghost town and delve into its current state. From a distance, you can still see the remnants of the buildings, and in the front, there are some parts that have been completed. Those sections still retain the beauty and sophistication of the original design, evoking a sense of its past glory. However, upon closer inspection, you'll find that behind these buildings lies a completely halted construction site, with clusters of concrete piles standing in disarray. To provide a more comprehensive view of this place, I headed toward the area where the sales office was once located. Entering through the main gate of the community, we discovered that the road planning here was quite chaotic. Due to the lack of property management, accessing the area was extremely inconvenient. We had to drive a long way around, pass through a narrow underpass beneath a bridge, and only then find the correct entrance to the community. Along the way, we also discovered areas originally planned for commercial purposes. Through the dilapidated buildings and desolate streets, one can faintly discern that this place was once envisioned as a bustling business district, even including facilities such as schools and supermarkets. Yet now, all of this appears in a state of decline, with many houses still in an unfinished state. For instance, the buildings designed as small villas or townhouses remain under construction to this day. Of course, there are also some fortunate residents here. The houses that have been delivered and occupied are still reasonably well built, but they starkly contrast with the desolation around them. Incredibly, these houses were delivered just 2 years ago, yet the neighborhood already looks dilapidated. During our visit, my car accidentally ran over some broken glass, and now I probably need to get the tire fixed. There are hardly any reliable amenities nearby. Many roads abruptly end halfway through construction. The areas originally planned as large parks now show no signs of construction or maintenance. As we moved further, we encountered some facilities that were once built to be quite magnificent, such as a large building resembling a concert hall or theater. These places were designed with great attention to detail, but unfortunately, most of them never became operational. Around the former sales office, we saw more ruined shops. Many stores which had already been decorated and were about to open, now stand deserted. Some restaurants and other commercial venues still show signs of heavy investment by the developers, but ultimately, they failed to commence operations. In other parts of the community, we found some fairy tale-style buildings that appeared to be ideal weekend destinations for families with children. These places looked like they were meant to provide joyful moments for parents and kids. However, the ultimate fate of this fairy tale town is filled with a tragic undertone. From a high vantage point, the scale of this area appears enormous, with many parts not even having their outer walls painted. The view here is like a post-apocalyptic scene, ruins intertwined with romantic fairy tale designs, creating a blend of desolation and shock. To further explore, we decided to climb up some of the unfinished buildings to get a panoramic view. From the upper floors, it was clear that 2/3 of this area remained incomplete. The contrast between the colorful finished structures and the unpainted buildings was striking, resembling a dividing line between heaven and hell. Looking into the distance, the unfinished scale of this project is comparable to Disneyland. Yet, due to the complete halt in construction, the desolation here leaves one feeling deeply regretful. We even found a site map of this project, marking out the planned layout of the entire area. According to the map, the site is divided into 8 main zones, and the part we explored today accounts for only 1/5 to 1/6 of the entire project. There are still many unexplored areas, such as the zone originally planned as an amusement park, which now only has massive steel structures left. There's also a section intended to be a marine park, now eerily silent. Additionally, many areas near the model homes remain abandoned due to the halted construction. One can imagine that the homeowners who purchased properties here must have done so with beautiful expectations, hoping to create a perfect childhood for their children. However, the current reality is far from the initial dream. One might even say it is the tragic ending of the fairy tale itself. This place has ultimately turned into a lost world.
我现在在甘肃的玉门关老城区。
Now I am in the old town of Yumen in Gansu province, which has a nickname, Ghost City. At this moment it is 1:30 in the afternoon. The sun is shining brightly and the weather seems pleasant, but the entire street is unusually desolate, with almost no one in sight. Occasionally I encounter a few local petroleum workers in uniforms, but they are extremely rare. The supermarkets here are struggling to stay in business and have long since closed down. Looking around, rows of intact buildings stand tall, but in reality most of them are vacant, with very few households living inside. Many houses have been stripped empty. These buildings, one after another, are practically uninhabited. It is now 1:30 in the afternoon. The sun is shining brightly today, but neither the streets nor the residential areas show a single soul. The desolation of the streets is shocking. Not only are there no pedestrians, but vehicles are also incredibly scarce. Walking along, I stumbled upon a public restroom that is still in use, seemingly serving the nearby residential areas. It appears that these old houses were not originally equipped with sanitary facilities, so people rely on public toilets for basic needs. However, the barrenness here is not just due to a lack of infrastructure but primarily because of the harsh natural environment and the depletion of energy resources. The trash bins along the roadside are damaged, and the electronic screens on them have long since disappeared. Even the nearby small park has turned into a wasteland. At the park entrance, a thick layer of snow has accumulated, clearly untouched for a long time. The once lively scenes seem to exist only in memories. The concrete benches in the park are left forgotten in the corners. This used to be a beautiful fountain, but now the metal components of the fountain are covered in rust, telling a story of its decline. The park here is called Oil City Park, which should theoretically be one of the more modern facilities in the old town of Yumen. It even has a petroleum poetry exhibition hall, but the hall is empty and lifeless. Although the park is clean and well equipped, no one comes to play. Not only are tourists almost non-existent, but even local residents are rarely seen. Standing in this vast and quiet town, one feels as though time has stopped here and the world has come to a standstill. The only thing that exists is yourself. Once a bustling and prosperous area, the old town of Yumen has now become a desolate land. The remnants faintly tell the story of its glorious past, yet they only add an indescribable sense of bleakness.
这里就是甘肃玉门关的老城区。
In the still quiet, and the lively scenes are long gone.
I never expected that in recent years, China would have so many ghost cities, which have sparked so much attention and debate. In fact, many of my friends have asked me who is responsible for the ghost city phenomenon in China. Today, let's take a look at this issue together. Let me use the well-known Weihai Yintan project as an example. Before 2004, the Weihai Yintan project had already begun large-scale development work, with vast areas of salt-alkali land being converted into land for seaside properties. The relevant departments attracted over 100 developers through investment promotion, encouraging them to acquire land for development. Selling land became the backbone of the local economy, with almost all economic activities revolving around land sales. However, one day, the relevant departments suddenly realized that the city's model had problems. It was a typical migrant bird city, bustling in the summer, but completely empty in the winter. Building supporting infrastructure for these projects became a huge burden, as these facilities wouldn't generate direct profits, but would instead incur continuous losses. At this point, the relevant departments decided to stop investing in further infrastructure construction, deeming it not worthwhile. The problem, however, was that developers weren't interested in this. Developers responded, "This is not my concern. I'm selling houses, not doing charity work. What does it have to do with me if you, the government, don't build supporting facilities?" As a result, after selling the houses, the developers quickly left the area, washing their hands of the situation and leaving the problem behind. At this point, the group that was most affected were the homebuyers. They had once been full of beautiful expectations, thinking they would live in a city with perfect infrastructure and a pleasant environment. But after several years, they found that the situation hadn't improved, and in fact, it had gotten worse. What was true last year was still true this year, and they eventually realized that there would probably be no changes in the future. Ultimately, the home buyers were left disappointed, discovering that the homes they bought not only lacked the development and prosperity they had imagined, but had instead turned into a ghost city, an empty, lifeless place with no future. Over time, fewer and fewer people came to buy houses here, until no one came at all. As a result, you can see how the whole model formed a vicious cycle. The relevant departments attracted developers through land sales, and developers used beautiful stories to sell homes to consumers. But after a few years, consumers found that things were not as they had hoped. In the end, they had to face the reality of a wasteland, a mess of broken promises. What is your opinion on the ghost cities in China? Feel free to leave your comments. I'd really like to hear your thoughts. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Your support is very important to us, and we will continue to provide you with better content. Thank you again for watching, and see you next time.